Hi, and welcome to Chapter 12. As you remember from Chapter 11, these are the last two P's of the four P's, also known as the marketing mix. So for this chapter, we're focusing on promotion and distribution, also known as place of distribution. And so we'll get started right away with our table of content. So we'll start with distribution. Looking at wholesaling, types of wholesalers, retail. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. Supply chain management, increasing efficiency and customer satisfaction. And then having finished here with distribution and logistics, we'll go into promotion, talk about key elements of the promotion mix, advertising media and how to select them, personal selling, goals of sales promotion, different types of sales promotion, and then we'll look at public relations and how that fits into the promotional mix. I'm not going to do much. Actually, I'm going to skip social media and e-commerce, only because I'm trying to keep everything a little bit under an hour, and also because things change every 5 seconds when it comes to social media, and also because you guys are the expert at social media, and you will learn a lot more about this when you take your marketing class. So let's start with the nature and function of distribution. And for this, just think about where you get your stuff, right? And what happens behind the scenes. Distribution is efficiently managing the acquisition of raw material by the factory and the movement of product from the producer or manufacturer to business users and consumers. And so that's a mouthful right there, basically to kind of explain how things go from raw material to you. What's the in between? I decided for this, before we get started, I wanted to show you some very important data here from John Husing. So John Husing is the chief economist of the Inland Empire. And so if you ever want to know what the Inland Empire economy looks like on a quarterly basis, he's the guy who collects the data and gives it to the state and businesses, etc. He's a very dynamic, very interesting guy. Anyway, so let's look at the last quarterly report here. And again, there's a method, there's a reason. And so, he'll, go on through, different types of profiles of population, resale, sales, etc. Of course, in the midst of a pandemic, it's not going to look great. Let's skip here to the area that I want to discuss, which is going to be, no, not quite. There we go. So this is what I want to show you first. In the Inland Empire, logistics is the name of the game. In the midst of a pandemic, right? I mean, look at eating and drinking, right? These are right there the jobs that have been lost in eating and drinking. But there's been a net gain of 2,100 for logistics. And so that's pretty astounding, right? I mean, almost everything else has been, even healthcare. That's the first time for me in years that I see a drop in healthcare. Healthcare during the last recession was growing robustly. And so this is pretty telling, right? That logistics is actually at the very top. In the Inland Empire, if I remember well, 1 out of 4 jobs is tied to logistics, distribution, warehousing, etc. So that's the first thing I want to show you, and why it's such an important chapter for us. A little bit more, since I'm on the topic, I wanted to show about, again, in the midst of a pandemic, job creation or destruction. Well, we know, but this is where we are now. April was the biggest drop, and so all of these, this is where we are. And there we go. This is also what I wanted to show you here. We're going through a really tough time. Many students have to make sacrifices and decide, and ask themselves, is this degree worthwhile? Should I maybe finish my associates and then my bachelor's at another time? Or should I just continue here? Well, this is what I want to show you. Highest share associates of or higher degree. So Chino Hills has 62% of its population having either an AA or a bachelor's or more, right? And then you go all the way down, right? So LA County's at 40%, Rancho's at 46%. You get the idea. What I want to show you is this right here. In 2019, inland residents with community college or higher degrees were only 31% of adults. Look at that number. 31% of adults have either an AA degree or higher. And that's dismal, right? So why am I showing you this? Because this is hopefully a really kind of a nudge for you. This is a good reminder that you're in the right place at the right time, and whatever sacrifices you're making are worth it. Just get your education out of the way. It'll pay off, especially in the Inland Empire, where only 1/3 of the population has a college degree, an associate's or higher. In terms of income, you can see again where we are. The Inland Empire is second to last when it comes to median household income at 70K. Home markets, interesting. I mean, I'm sure you've seen what's been going on, but there, look at that. People have been moving up to the San Bernardino Mountains. They're buying houses in Wrightwood. 84% increase. That's the highest increase in the Inland Empire for existing homes, by the way. These are people, this is the movement for that. And then this is where the drop is there. Anyway, just some stats here that I think are worthy of checking out. So let's continue. On their way from producers to end users and consumers, products pass through a series of marketing entities known as distribution channels. This is all straight from your book, by the way, and we're on page 460. So you have agents and brokers, industrial distributors, wholesalers, retailers, right? There's going to be a pretty big difference between agents and brokers and industrial distributors. Agents and brokers, they're representatives of manufacturers or wholesalers, and brokers are entities that bring buyers and sellers together. The industrial distributors are independent wholesalers that buy related product lines from many manufacturers and sell them to industrial users. Wholesalers are firms that sell finished goods to retailers, manufacturers, and institutions. And of course, the retailers are firms that sell goods to consumers. You have from your author here, a typical supply chain. There we go. Suppliers of raw material. There's a CD factory here. They finish the CDs, and it goes into wholesalers and distribution centers. And then a series of retail, wholesalers, distribution centers, and eventually to customers. Why is this important to know? Well, think about what happens from finished CDs to you. And more importantly, think about cost. What do you think? The more people involved in the middle, the higher the cost, right? And so this is how also it affects you. And as anybody involved in a manufacturing or distribution process, you want to try to find a way to make this process here as fast as possible, as lean as possible, meaning as financially easier on the customer, rendering you more competitive. So that's the typical supply chain. In terms of channels of distribution, business to business and consumer product, you could see a variety of ways of doing this, right? I'm not going to go through each of them, but basically to give you an idea. In terms of industrial, it's a little bit narrower in terms of choices. And so the question then is how distribution channels reduce the numbers of transactions, right? Again, example from your author, if you have 5 sources here for students and they're going direct, that's a lot of interaction. Whereas over here, if you have publishers all having to go through a bookstore, then it's easier for students to get access. So again, it reduces the number of transactions, 9 transactions compared to 20 transactions. Well, speaking of that, I wanted to kind of add a little bit of an example of a company that most people have never heard of. And yet you have bought products that came from them. Your smartphone, your cell phone that you're using now probably came from them. You just don't know. If you bought anything, an Android or an iPhone, and you might think that iPhone was sent from some kind of a Apple distribution center. Well, you'd be wrong, because Apple partners with the biggest IT distribution giant on the planet. The company's called Ingram Micro. When I worked in the computer industry, sometimes we would call them if we couldn't find our own inventory. That's how great they were. They could help us with our inventory when we couldn't even find stuff. And of course that was over 20 years ago. All right, so let me show you this clip here. All right, so hopefully you found this interesting and learned something. So now let's get into merchant wholesalers versus agent and brokers. Merchant wholesalers, 80% of all wholesaling establishment, slightly less than 60% of all wholesale sales. A merchant wholesaler is an institution that buys goods from manufacturer, resells them to business, government, etc. The important thing to know here is that a merchant wholesaler takes title of the goods they sell. Whereas agents and brokers are basically salespeople. Manufacturers' reps represent non-competing manufacturers. They function as independent agents. They don't take title or possession, and they get a commission if they make a sale. This is from your author right here, Costco, right? And so it's a nice little highlight on Costco and explains how Costco is able to be so competitive with things that you might not consider. In this case, the jewelry industry, right? If you think about all of the middlemen in the jewelry, all of the intermediaries in the jewelry industry, and think about how much money that's going to add at each step of the game. What Costco has been doing is really been pretty amazing, because by getting rid of all of these intermediaries, is being able to sell things. In this case, it's showing you 25. This is a 3.74 carat diamond, priced 25% below its $750,000 valuation at Costco, etc. So anyway, just kind of showing you that in this case, it really does matter in terms of strategy and intermediaries when it comes to cost. Retailing takes many forms, right? So you have the types of in-store retailing here, the description, and the examples. This is flashcard stuff. I will let you guys do this on your own. I don't think you want to hear me read up all that stuff for you, especially when your author did a great job showing you all the examples for each. All right, let's get into promotion now. So now that we're done with the first part of place of distribution, there's way more to it. I know some of you are already working in that industry, and some of you are getting your certificate, which is great, because that's a certificate that's I hear very much recognized in the Inland Empire. Students are getting promotions, getting hired with these certificates in warehousing and warehouse management. So and you saw the stats. So if you want job security in the Inland Empire right now, there's no other better way, right? So now we're getting into the last P, right? So the last O of the 4 Ps, which is going to be promotion. And I'm going to try to also keep this one pretty straightforward. You'll get a lot more from this chapter. For those of you who are, I mean, everybody here who is a business major is going to have to take a class in marketing anyway. But when you think about what the elements of marketing are, they're fascinating, and you will get more out of that when you look at that in your marketing and advertising classes. So let's look at promotion, an attempt by marketers to inform, persuade, or remind consumers and business-to-business users to influence their opinion or elicit a response. That's what promotion is, right? And yes, if you think about inform, you don't just persuade someone. You have to sometimes educate them. This is what the product does, and this is why you should consider it. The combination of traditional advertising, personal selling, sales promotion, public relations, social media, and e-commerce used to promote a product is called the promotional mix. So you're going to, based on not only the good that you're trying to promote, but also based on where your clients, where your prospective customers are, you will have to kind of have this optimized outlook in terms of what are the best ways to reach to these customers, right? And of course, everything is about social media now, but not everybody is going to favor social media. And so promotional goals, again, I'll just give you the list. I'm not going to go over each of them, but what are the promotional goals? Number 1, create awareness. Number 2, getting consumers to try products. Number 3, provide information. Number 4, keep loyal customers. Number 5, increase the amount or frequency of use. And then identify your target customers and teach the customers, right? So those are some of the goals there. Let's now get into the IMC. When you think about all of these things we just covered, right, and you think about how complex an organization can be. Think about Procter & Gamble, right? How big of a company. It's a true multinational. It's got a global footprint, but above and beyond that, it has so many divisions, right? And so, I mean, if you just were to just split just the food versus, I don't know, the beauty product or shampoo or whatever, think about all the divisions involved, right? And so IMC is going to be really important because it involves carefully coordinating all promotional activities, which are traditional advertising, including direct marketing, sales promotion, personal selling, public relations, social media, e-commerce, packaging, and other forms of promotion to produce a consistent, unified message that is customer focused. So, but what that means is this: no matter where you're seeing these ads, no matter how you're being targeted, the message should be the same. The message should be consistent. So that's what that is. All right, now let's move on to personal sales. So a lot of people in business, right? If you think about all of the different areas, and I know we've covered a lot already here with this class, but you have a bachelor's. Let's say that when you're transferring and you earn your business degree, you will earn a bachelor's degree, whether a bachelor's of arts or a bachelor's of science, in business administration. That's what every business major will earn. However, your concentration or focus is going to be maybe something else, right? And so some people will have an accounting degree, some people will have a finance degree, some people will have a marketing degree, management degree, etc. What's interesting is that I want to say a majority, but I don't have the data with me handy, so I don't want to misspeak, but a large percentage of business majors end up in sales. And that's just the nature of the beast. A lot of companies want students who have the kind of background that business students have, where they know their way around numbers, spreadsheets, but they're also all these group presentations you've done, all of these presentations where you're trying to convince someone of something. That's a skill. And that's why many business majors end up in sales. So this is pretty straightforward. The steps in a successful sale, the prospecting and qualifying. You don't want to waste your time on the wrong client. Then your approach to customers, which is in itself art form, because you have to get through the administrative assistants, you have to get through barriers, and then the presentation and the demonstration of the product. Again, which is never about your product. It has to be first really researching and understanding the client and making it about them and for them. Handling objections, and in fact, not only just handle objections, but take an objection and transform it into an opportunity to further convince that this is the best product. Closing the sale, and then of course follow up on the sale. And so I did a little screenshot here of spin selling. If you are a marketing major, if you decide that's the way you're going to go, marketing, advertising, public relations, etc., then this is a book that you'll be familiar with, because you'll have to take a sales class, professional sales class. And this is like the Bible of professional sales. Everybody who's in sales will know the spin selling. Best validated sales method available today, developed from research studies of 35,000 sales calls used by the top sales forces across the world. And so that, again, it's a good skill to have. Everybody, you when you're at a job interview, aren't you selling your skills, right? And so moving along now with the types of consumers and sales promotional goal. Again, I'm not going to go through each of these. These are things that I want you to do on your own. Again, and I don't think anybody wants me to read everything here, but you have the type of behavior, the desired result, and the sales promotion example. So it's a good way of familiarizing yourself with how that works. The function of a public relations department, here, you have the public relations over here and the function department. So now we're getting into a little bit of PR. You should know something about public relations. It's interesting because you have two areas with PR. The predominant area in terms of studying for PR is a business degree. And so that the focus there would be, you would get a marketing degree, and then you could focus on public relations within your marketing degree. There's also communication studies. The communications degrees have some emphasis in also public relations. Of course, there's a huge difference between the two. I'm not very familiar with the communications degree, but I can speak to the business degree. You can't get out of a business program without obviously having taken a couple of accounting classes, finance classes, business statistics, business calculus, depending where you're transferring, etc. So there's it's important that you understand that in one of the degrees you're able to substantiate your claim by analysis of numbers, right? Let's see. So again, that's for PR. How does public relations fit into your promotional mix? I wanted to kind of focus on this a little bit. So public relations, any communication or activity designed to win goodwill or prestige for a company. And so here's something that I have for you here. This is a clip from a stockbroker here talking about Tesla. I'll just show you a small part of it.
Hey traders and investors, Todd Gordon here with TradingAnalysis.com. This is CNBC's Trading Nation. We're going to talk about, surprise, surprise, Tesla. Just recently added to the S&P. A couple days ago, it was going to be a top 5 market capitalization addition. The way it's trading today, it could be higher than that. Look, we put a trade on, a call debit spread.
You get the idea. And so the reason I wanted to show you this is to kind of think about what's going on here. You have someone who's talking about Tesla stock. Think about how often you've heard about Tesla from a news source, right? Could be anything. Could be print, could be radio, could be TV, could be social media. But you've heard, of course, many, many stories. It's always something about the cars or Elon Musk or something. Well, what's fascinating is this. Look at Auto Brand's paid media mix, right? So Toyota, most of the money for Toyota is going into Facebook. BMW, not quite as much as Toyota in terms of percentage for Facebook. Twitter, BMW seems to also spend a lot of money on Twitter. Honda is kind of spread out, almost evenly there, especially between Facebook and YouTube. Audi favors YouTube. Ford Motor Company favors Facebook. Infinity, it favors Facebook, but again, Instagram at 40% there. Cadillac favors YouTube, kind of close with Facebook. Porsche is looking at YouTube and Instagram. Look at Tesla. Tesla has no paid advertising. What's fascinating about Tesla is that Tesla spends $0 on any advertising. There's no ads for Tesla. You will never. I shouldn't say you will never, but famously, Elon Musk does not spend any money on advertising. His budget is $0. That's how much he spends. And so, in fact, it's comical because fans of Tesla have decided to create their own ads. So, this is just a Google search that I just found here for Pinterest. But these are ads that people who drive Tesla have thought like, well, they're not creating ads. Let me create one. And so it's, what is this about? When these ads get circulated on social media, it's all, in this case, publicity, which publicity falls under public relations, by the way. Not advertising, but just free publicity. Well, that's it for that. We were able to cover this chapter in about half an hour. I hope you were able to get a lot out of it. Please make sure you follow with your terms, get your definitions out of the way, and I'll see you for the next chapter on using technology and managing information.